Good evening and welcome to the first episode of Ireland Reports. I'm your host, Alex Sheridan, and today I'm joined by Senator Sharon Keogan and entrepreneur and political commentator Elaine Mullally. Today we'll be discussing the Irish presidential election and the nomination process and political violence in the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting. Sharon, you are very important to the presidential nomination process at this stage, especially for independent candidates who you're assisting in getting a nomination via the councils. And I presume you're also doing some work in the Oireachtas as well with Maria Steen. Any update you can tell us about this? I know that the nomination meeting for Fingal was yesterday.
Yes, look, I've been working hard over the last, I'd say, 6-7 months in relation to this campaign. A number of candidates would have come and approached me to assist them to try and get on the ballot paper. It has become an uphill battle in the last couple of weeks after Simon Harris decided that all his councillors throughout the country were to oppose the nomination of any independent candidate. I'm very disappointed with that diktat by Fine Gael. I don't think it's very democratic. The presidency is above party politics. It is a gift of the people. It shouldn't be just for political parties to put in either a retiree politician or a celebrity candidate by, like Fianna Fáil are doing with Jim Gavin. I am going to continue to work. I believe in democracy. I believe that every independent inside that Dáil Éireann and Seanad Éireann is a Democrat at heart. And I hope to be able to say that we will get to that magic figure of 24 Maria Steen. It's going to be harder through the councils. At this moment in time, I'm ringing around just to see what the feeling is around the country. And what happened in Fingal yesterday evening, although Fianna Fáil did abstain, the entire Fine Gael opposed and all the left also opposed, which it makes it really, really hard now for independents to get through the council system. There's 31 local authorities out there. 2 have already voted. We're now down to 29. It kicks off Monday again. Plenty of meetings for candidates to go to. But I think some of them are going to be wasting their time because the decisions are even made before they even get there, which is really, really disappointing.
Yeah, and I remember about the last cycle. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael didn't run a candidate, so there is a little bit more leeway and more of a chance for independent candidates to get on the ballot. And I think we saw 4 independent candidates. And if I remember correctly, last cycle as well, the nomination process with the councils wasn't as tight. There seemed to be a few weeks of space for candidates to approach different councils. There could have been 3 meetings in one day, but we're looking at on Monday, I think we have 5 councils all at once. That's going to be pretty much impossible for a candidate to visit all meetings. They're really going to have to choose their battles, so to speak, and which ones to approach. Dublin City Council is on Monday. I think we were saying before the cameras are rolling that it might just be a write-off, that they might just behave exactly like Fingal and not nominate a candidate at all. They didn't in the last cycle, so I wonder if it'd be the same sort of business again.
Well, there's six votes up on Monday, so you've Kerry. Obviously had the meeting last week. They're going to be voting on Monday morning whether to put through a candidate or not. That'll be the first vote. So they will be proposing, are we going to nominate a candidate or not? And if Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the Labour and the Sinn Féin people decide, no, we're not, then there will be no vote on Monday in Kerry. Then you have Longford, Roscommon, Westmeath, Laois, Galway City and Dublin City Council. Dublin City Council. They're meeting on Monday evening as well. It's impossible for candidates to get round to each and every one of those. So people are going to have to choose which ones they go to. It doesn't make any difference how much work you've done. If they've called a meeting at 11 o'clock meetings, you're not going to be able to make it. That is the reality of it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens on Monday. Monday will give us an indication of what the council are doing. Are Fianna Fáil going to abstain? Are some Fine Gaelers going to abstain? Abstentions is really what we would need as independents to get forward. I believe that is what the councillors should do. It's one of the powers that councillors have And if they don't exercise that vote, don't exercise that chance to do it, you never know, that could be taken away from them very, very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see. Monday is going to be a very crucial day for independent candidates to see if we can get anybody on the ballot paper on Monday. And then we can go from there. We have Tuesday, we have a couple of meetings on Wednesday morning, nothing on Thursday because there's a conference, a councillors' conference on Thursday. Friday, back into the meetings, and then Monday again. So really, you're only talking about 4 or 5 working days that councillors really have the opportunity to back independent candidates. So it is going to be an uphill battle for the presidential hopefuls, but I am hoping that politicians, local politicians, will do the right thing and allow democracy and be Democrats, because they have to go back to their public to get voted back the next time. And I've always supported Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and independence throughout this country over the last six years. Independent Ireland, I've supported all the parties. And maybe I'll have to review that after next week, but let's just wait and see what happens. I want to be an inclusive politician, and I think they should be too, because they work at council level with independence, they work at national level at independence, and we all can come together and create a better Ireland, but don't block us out.
Indeed. Elaine, you were watching the Fingal meeting yesterday evening. Do you have anything to say about that and how it went?
Thanks very much, Alex. And I just wanted to commend Senator Sharon Keogan on the work that she's after doing. She's the only independent elected representative who is stepping up and trying her best to get 4 candidates on the ballot. It's an uphill battle, as she's explained, but it needs to be acknowledged. There's nobody else after doing it. So whoever gets on there, it'll be completely down to the work Sharon's put in. I was up in Fingal last night at the presidential nomination process. There was two nominations there. We had Gareth Sheridan and Maria Steen. I'm a strong supporter of Maria Steen. I'll state that from the outset. So I was plugging for her, and I was hoping she would get the nomination from the council. They both gave very, very good presentations, and then they endured about a 2-hour questions and answer session, which was quite grueling, I have to say. There was an awful lot of questions thrown their way. While that would be worth it, had one of them actually gone through, but they voted, and Gareth Sheridan got 7 votes, Maria Steen got 5, and there was 15 abstained from the vote. So at that point in time, it looked like Gareth Sheridan was going to go through, and then the motion had to go back to the councillors to see if it was passed, and they didn't pass it. And I think that shows the actual state of play, the gagging order that's been placed on Fine Gael openly, and possibly Fine Gael behind the doors that hasn't been publicly declared. But all of these councillors were elected by their local by people in their community. The people of Fingal went out and voted for these people so that they would have a voice. Where was their voice? How is their voice going to be heard in this presidential election if they didn't have to vote for the candidate when it came to the polling. They just had to give the candidate a chance. They dedicated their whole afternoon and evening to what was supposed to be a democratic process, only to be told neither of you are getting through. And I think it's disrespectful. I think it's extremely disrespectful to the people who put themselves out there, and it's setting precedent. I hope it's not, but it's looking like it's setting precedent across the council setting. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope we start to see, but as far as I know, Sharon, nobody has got through yet through the councils.
Nobody. Monday is the big day.
So we'll see on Monday. In relation to the Oireachtas, I too would have faith that there are people there that will step forward sooner rather than later. We've 5-6 weeks to a presidential election at this point in time. I ran in the general election myself as an independent last November. I was 4 months preparing and getting ready for that and getting my name out there. So relatively speaking, it's a very short period of time. We know the other candidates are out there. Catherine Connolly's out canvassing. She was in Laois recently. Jim Gavin has been got a lot of press in the last week. He's obviously going to be getting out fairly soon. And Heather Humphreys is already out making her mark. So these people don't have the same backing. They don't have the same people behind them. And they're going to be starting at a different level and going to try and make up a serious amount of ground. Why are the government blocking them?
Yeah, indeed. Sinn Féin still haven't nominated a candidate. I wonder what your opinions on that is. Is Sinn Féin going to nominate a candidate? Are they going to just back Catherine Connolly? Because Sinn Féin, we have possibly a referendum on a United Ireland coming up it would seem very silly for them to not attempt to get a president out there or try get somebody in the hours to try drive home that argument. Is it an open secret in the House of the Oireachtas that they have somebody, maybe Michelle O'Neill or somebody like that?
I was very surprised that Mary Luton didn't run, to tell you the truth. I would have thought that she would have had the best chance of all on the ticket to take a step into the Oireachtas. But she decided and declined it. I think it'd be a massive mistake by Sinn Féin not to run a candidate. They are the third largest political party in the country. And for them to row in behind, Catherine Connolly would be a left candidate, very much to the left. And I don't think she'd put up as much as an opposition as a real Sinn Féin candidate would. It'd be their opportunity. Otherwise, it's going to be a very dull campaign. I mean, you'll have Jim Gavin on behalf of Fianna Fáil, who really we haven't a clue what he stands for. And
he's not great on camera either. He doesn't really
really disappointed. A couple of times that I've seen him over the last couple of days. I'm not great myself, but over the last couple of days, the few bits I've seen of him, I'm not impressed. I really am not impressed. I don't think that he has the qualities, and I'm talking to Fianna Fáilers around the country as well, and I do believe that he hasn't got as great amount of support from the ordinary members of Fianna Fáil that he thinks he does. Don't forget, there was 29 people that voted for Billy Kelleher for that contest there to decide. They cannot be happy. And, you know, Micheál as well, Billy Kelleher in his own sort of area, backing Jim Gavin, an absolutely unknown, who, number one, was asked to run for Fine Gael as an MEP earlier this year, and now he's running for Fianna Fáil in the presidential election.
There's also a rumour that Aidan O'Riordan approached him to run for possibly Labour. Is there any truth to that?
I have no idea, but I guess he's up for grabs. That guy is up for grabs. He'll go anywhere really where he thinks he might get a shot at the Oireachtas. I don't believe he will win. I actually don't believe he'll win at all. I think this is Heather Humphreys to lose, and really I think that Simon Harris could be the albatross around her neck, and that'll be the only reason why Heather won't get it. Her campaign kicked off this morning in Monaghan. She's a fantastic promo video out there, and let's see how it goes. But we really need an alternative voice on that ballot paper, because at this moment in time we have nobody that represents Middle Ireland. They will say they do, but they don't. You won't be hearing the topics that are important to people, the cost of living, the health crisis. You won't be hearing about the immigration, uncontrolled immigration. You won't be hearing the rising crime rates. None of that will get talked about in the next number of weeks. And candidates from independent candidates would only have until the 24th of September to get on that ballot paper. And then after that, it's just... And
to clarify, 24th September, is that for...
12 noon.
Okay, and is that for Oireachtas nominations as well as
Everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to have it in by the 24th of September.
Okay.
Back to Heather Humphreys, Sharon. Just less than a year ago, she didn't run for the general election.
That's
because
right.
She said she was tired and it was stressful and putting a strain on her family life. You'd wonder how somebody goes from that situation to being the biggest house, the biggest position in the country. You know, you'd have to ask yourself the question: well, what changed in the space of that in that space of time that all of a sudden you're energised? Like, it's a big job, it's a big role, and I know it's a lot of people call it rubber stamping, but it's not. You know, it surprises me that she's now stepped forward.
And her promo video this morning, it's very much, it's all about her family. Really, the family that she wanted to spend a lot of time with. And this is the family. So that promo video, I mean, it's a beautiful video, and I have to say it does. But for me, you know, I always believe that we should never bring children into our political life. Any child, doesn't matter whether they're grandchildren or adult children. I don't believe that is the sphere in which we should bring children into. And we should not leave them. We should not leave them in the political arena. Our private lives are our private lives. Our children should not be out there front and centre. I mean, I looked this week, you know, Charlie Kirk, and he was after getting assassinated. I looked through all his videos, every time you could see the children, they were walking away from the camera or they were to the side. You could never actually see the faces of the children. And I thought that was great, because the children, although we all knew he had children, he was a family man, you could never see those faces. So, yes, I think Heather is going to be a very formidable candidate. She's very, very strong. She'll go down really, really well in Monaghan and Cavan and Louth and Meath. I've absolutely no doubt about it. But will the mistakes of Simon Harris and the Fine Gael government be the downfall of Heather? Let's wait and see, and we'll only know on the 25th of October.
No, 25th of October. Yeah,
And there's so much controversy around Simon Harris at the moment with the scoliosis. The little Harvey there recently, Lord of Mercy on him, who died. His parents are calling for him. He seems to be just not responding to anything that the people of Ireland are calling for at the moment. And I reckon that the likes of Heather Humphreys, I reckon they will hear that on the doors, and they'll hear it not necessarily on the doors, but across the country. People are going to be calling her to account on account of the mistakes that he has made, and he's just they're sweeping it under the carpet, instead of actually speaking to people. And people, exactly as Sharon has said, people are now really, really calling for somebody that's representing their voice, a real family person, a real genuine family person that is listening to the people on the ground and that will try their best to get the message out there on their behalf. And any of the political parties are not kept. They haven't done it for the last 20, 30 years. They're not going to step up to the plate now, no matter what kind of an image they try to put out. And I think people need to understand and realise that if you're supporting any of those parties on the ground, at community level, right through, if you're supporting them, you're supporting the lack of democracy that we're experiencing right now. If you vote them in, they're blocking you from having a say over what's going to happen in this presidential election. That's a strong message. It's a strong, clear indication of, so things will tighten. If this is a 3-horse or possibly a 4-horse race, like Sharon said, it's going to be extremely boring. Yeah. And we need to have that alternative voice there. We need to have somebody who's prepared to call the others to account.
Absolutely. And you were saying that Maria Steen is your candidate for this election. Is there a quick rundown you can give us on why Maria Steen, above the other independents, do you think is your person for the hours?
Because I believe Maria is a very strong family person. She has 5 children. She is a barrister. She's an architect. She is highly intelligent and very articulate. She's a genuine, authentic. She presents herself well. She's a beautiful looking woman, which I know should not come into play, but let's be honest, we all do. She's a gentle person. She's a family, very, very family orientated, which I think is extremely important. And she stood up last year even though she took time out to raise her family, she stood up for the referendum, against the referendum last year, the family and care referendum. She put up a very, very, very strong case for the no. It was overwhelmingly successful, and I believe that she is much more in tune with the people of Ireland than an ex-GAA football manager, than politicians have been in general, and much less left-leaning than the likes of Catherine Connolly. So she will appeal to a bigger audience, and I believe that's why they're trying to block her.
And she has a very clear stance on the last 3 or 4 referenda that you had in our country. Whether she was on the winning side or the losing side, you compare that to Jim Gavin, and he kind of gives vague responses. You go,
wishy-washy.
I voted with the majority. I went with the majority opinion. That
what
sort
was
of
the
thing.
result again?
Yeah. I can't wait until he gets on stage when it comes to a debate, because I think with somebody like Jim Gavin, they're very used to sports journalists. And as sports journalists, they can be a little bit fawning. They have Jim Gavin on and they'd ask all the questions that he wants to hear. There wouldn't be anything awkward in there. They're not really trying to, stick the dagger in or, ask the hard questions like a political journalist would be. I can't wait till see him on the debate stage, because as we've seen in some presidential elections, that can make and break a campaign.
Absolutely.
You had Sean
Gallagher, exactly.
Prime example.
If he had to slip before he went into the studio that night and stayed out of the studio, he would have been the President of Ireland. And that is the
hard
reality.
To believe, isn't
it is actually. So look, very fine independents going around the country at this moment in time trying to get on the ballot paper. We have Maria Steen, who actually I was the first signatory on the on the nomination paper after that little caucus the other day. Fantastic candidate, and I think if she got on the ballot paper, she would do extremely well. And I think that is what they fear. They fear the voices like Maria Steen, like the voices of Sharon Keogan, because they know we have support out there. Now, how much support Maria Steen would have, we don't know. But put her on the ballot paper and let's see. And I'm doing everything I can, whether it be Garrett Sheridan or Nick Delahunt. He's also a fine young man there in Dublin, and he's also trying to get on the ballot paper as well, Nick. And he's done some fantastic investigative work, journalism work in relation to government waste and government overspend, whether it be through the iPass system or various organisations that the government have been front-loading for years. So he's a great candidate. I think he's a very bright future ahead of him in politics, and I will certainly be supporting him and trying to get him inside that door over the next number of years if he doesn't get on the ballot paper. Gareth Sheridan is also a great candidate as well. He came to me earlier on in the process. He was the first guy in the door, 6'7". I said, where the heck is this guy going? Like, he's a nobody. He's an absolute nobody. Nobody knows him. He has no political history at all. He's after coming from America with his wife and his child, and he believed he had something to offer to the conversation. And I say, fair play to you. So I liked him. There was something about him that I liked, and I said, look, I will open the doors for you if I can. And I did. I introduced him to councillors like I've done with Nick and like I've done with Maria. And I'm doing my level best to try and get 1 or 3 of them on the ballot paper, but I certainly would like to see those alternative voices on the ballot paper. And I'll do everything I can to make sure it happens.
Yeah, because there are a lot of independents. It's not just Maria Steen, Nick Delahanty,
That's
or
right.
Gareth Sheridan. There's quite a few others. Peter Casey, who came second last time.
That's right, yes.
I haven't seen... He didn't attend Kerry. He didn't attend Fingal. We haven't really heard much from Peter Casey. Is he actually going to run this time, or?
Well, Peter did contact me, and he was very late into the game this time round. Literally only contacted me last week, I think. But he had sent out the letters. I don't know whether he's actually quite serious about running or not. We'll know if he turns up for any of the caucuses or any of the council meetings this week.
He was very active last time.
Yeah,
remember?
absolutely.
He flew around in a helicopter.
Yes.
And he was transporting some
Really?
of the... That's
oh
it,
gosh,
yeah. And,
I could do that. I could use that now for my Shanna campaign. I'd never get
Yeah.
away with it, but
And he was offering his opponents or his rival nominee or candidates for the nomination rides in the helicopter, and some of them actually took him up on it.
really,
Yeah.
Very
I never knew that.
That's true. I think Sarah Louise Mulligan was riding in the helicopter.
All
with
right,
him.
is she another candidate as well?
She's running again
Okay,
as well. She's
okay.
down in Kerry.
Okay.
Now there are some independent candidates who
Yes.
I think they know themselves. They don't have a hope of getting on
Right,
the
okay.
ballot paper. And they run for the nomination just to have a platform and
Right, okay.
to platform their point of view and their ideas or issues
Yes.
which they think are important.
Yep.
And that's why I wonder with some of these candidates, whether they're really taking it seriously or not. We haven't seen... So we only had 2 nomination meetings. But you see the likes of Conor McGregor. He's
Yes.
standing outside the Department of Taoiseach for some reason, talking about the presidential election. He put out a tweet about 3 weeks ago claiming that he already had the support of the councils
okay.
and had the support of the 20 Oireachtas members. Actually, I think he said he had both, which would be a historical first if that was the
Yes.
case. So we do look like we have some front runners. Who would you
Yes.
say are the front runners at the moment in terms of the independent candidates?
I would say there's 3 possible there. Maria Steen obviously has the 10 inside. We need 10 more, and Independent Ireland can get her there. We could have 14, just like that, and all we would need is 6. 6 is easier to get than 10. So I hope Independent Ireland come good over this next couple of days. Then hopefully we can get her through the inside, but it's not guaranteed. So that's why she will have to keep going through the council route. Then you have Gareth Sheridan, who's also worked really hard to try and get these nominations. He's been around the country visiting councillors, talking to councillors, having conversations with councillors, and he's done that for the last 6 months. So, like, someone that has put in a bit of work deserves a shot. Nick Delahanty over the last maybe month or 2 has been doing the exact same. So they're all good candidates that I'd like to see on the ballot paper. They're the people that would have sort of approached me and said, Sharon, can you help me? And I'm very happy to help those 3 candidates if we can get them on the ballot paper. But I just don't know. I really don't know. I talked to some people this morning, and I just have a fear that, they're going to be blocked, despite all their efforts, despite all my efforts, and those that are trying to get credible candidates like Maria, like Gareth, like Nick onto the ballot paper, we could be blocked, and the parties have done that. The parties have stopped democracy happening. And, they would say, oh, we're democratic as well. We're exercising our democratic right to oppose. Yeah, but you've been told to oppose by your leader.
Yeah,
So,
and
that's
it's a very unique system that we have in Ireland. From the top of my head, it's been said to me before, I think actually by Councillor Malachy Steenson, that there's only 2 other countries in the world that have the same nomination process for their president, and that is Turkey and Mongolia. And neither of those countries you sort of list as bastions of democracy.
Yeah.
And this is the system that we are going with. So maybe in the future that could be part of a party platform or a manifesto that maybe we could reform the nomination process or make it a little less gatekeepy and make it easier for independents to get on that ballot. But as we were discussing, that there's multiple councils. The council route seems to be what a lot of these independents are focusing on. Some councils, like Fingal, they declined to nominate any candidate. I don't think we've had an answer from Kerry yet. Would there be certain...
Mayo did vote on Maria Steen, but
then she didn't
get it. She didn't get it. Actually, so Mayo have voted. I don't think anybody realises that we're actually voting on that day, because a lot of the candidates were down in Kerry. So Mayo did vote. So Mayo is gone as well. So Mayo and Fingal have now gone. So
what would be the councils you would advise independents to focus on?
Well, look, I have a strategy in place. I don't want to discuss that here, because obviously, I have a strategy for candidates. Hopefully it will work. If it doesn't, there's nothing I can do about it. I am working flat out behind the scenes, with parties to see if please don't oppose, please abstain. Give us a chance, give us a fighting chance. I didn't close the door once I got into Leinster House and said, I'm only working with independents. That's it. That's it. Independents. I'm an independent now. I only go to work with independents. I work with Fianna Fáil people. I work with Fine Gael people all around the country. And I've never stopped doing that for 6 years. So, and they're in local governments. They're in national governments, independents. We can work together. So please, I'm asking these people to vote with their conscience. Let an independent through. Credible independents. Let credible independents through that have a real chance to be on the ballot paper, to give the people of Ireland an alternative choice.
I think it would be, sorry Alex, I think it would be worth a call out at this stage, because this is obviously going to be aired at some point, but I think it would be worth calling out the independent TDs who still have a say in relation to getting the likes of Maria, because Maria is the only one that's going through that route at the moment. Although they're sitting with government up in Dáil Éireann, they were again democratically elected as TDs within their constituencies, and some of them were elected as Conservative independents, and in particular Sean Kenny, Noel Grealish, you've Michael Lowry. All of those TDs have a nomination vote on this presidential election, and it's extremely important that the people within their constituencies and others, I'm probably missing out a couple of senators as well.
I actually feel it's going to be very hard for the guys that are ministers to sign a nomination form. I actually feel it's going to be hard on them, because they're obviously in government with Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil at this moment in time, and they may not want to rattle any cages. So, can it be done without those 5 or 6? I think it can. I actually think it can. I really believe in there's Democrats within the rest of the Senate and the Dáil that can do it. They may not agree with Maria Steen, but is she worth having a signature on a ballot paper to let her get out there? She might be beaten, and if she is beaten, fine.
Yeah.
And there's people that have signed my ballot paper that got criticised for signing my ballot paper for the Shannon. I know young one TD, Barry Heenan, got targeted because he had signed Sharon Keogan's ballot paper. Now, I had 8 independents lined up to sign and he turned up, he said absolutely no problem, and he signed it. And, I believe he talked to a journalist recently, I don't know, can't remember from which newspaper rang him, I think it was the Journal. And they rang him to see if he would nominate Sharon Keogan again. And basically he said, or did he get any hate because that's it. Did he get any hate or any emails for nominating Sharon Keogan? And he said, no, I never got one. I never got one email complaining that the fact that I had nominated Sharon Keogan. And that says it all, really. Twitterland or Xland or whatever it's called, that is just people behind keyboards saying, oh my God, how could you do that? She is this, she is that. It doesn't materialise into people that actually vote for Barry. I mean, I went out canvassing with Barry one of the days for him to become a TD. I would have been helping him, you know, as he got into the council, giving him a bit of guidance and supporting him along the way to try and get him into the Dáil. So, and I would do that with every independent candidate. It's not just Barry. I did it with other independents throughout the country as well. But the media want to sell a message about Sharon Keogan. Oh gosh, she's this sort of, you know, anti this, anti that, anti everything. None of that applies. I think when the journalists meet me in the corridors, I think they're afraid they're going to turn to salt or stone if they actually speak hello to me. It's actually quite funny, to tell you the truth. They're nearly afraid. This is my very first podcast. I have never done a podcast before. And so I'm wondering, you know, what is it they're afraid of? I'm not some
not a
sort.
monster that
I'm
they're
not.
trying to
I'm not.
create it to be.
Absolutely, I'm not this politician that says, "Oh God, she's anti-immigrant, anti-LGBT, anti whatever else." I don't know what else to say. I'm anti because I'm probably anti everything. But this is the way that they portray me in the media. I think they call me the controversial senator.
Yeah.
The controversial. I mean, are they doing anything like when you look at? I think Karen Nolan gets called that as well. But it's only the women. You never hear of a man getting called controversial. I mean, they talk about bringing women into politics, but when they bring women into politics, ones that don't have the same views as the left have, or you know, I would call myself a real feminist. I would call the rest of them they're not real feminists at all, because some of them won't even tell you what a woman is, and you know. They would just. I'm at a loss. Some of these politicians that that think that they are the type of politician that the public is going to support, when really I know the massive support that I have throughout this country in relation to the topics that I discuss. Now, they're hard topics. They're not easy sometimes to say the things that I say, but nevertheless, I know what I'm saying is 100% correct. It is correct. So I want the government to do better. I want the government to do better, whether it be for immigration, whether it be for crime, whether it be for health. I want the government. And if you don't point out the wrongs, and I probably am the only one in there that say, well, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. If you don't point, how we're all sitting in our hands saying, nodding along, yeah, fantastic, you're all brilliant. It can't just be that way in politics. Alternative voices must be allowed to be heard. But the media don't want the voices of Sharon Keogan.
Yeah.
Just on the minister's thing, just because I think it's an important point, Sharon, I do think, yes, they probably don't want to break rank with government because they're after getting these cosy little cushy jobs with them. And so they won't want to be seen to be breaking rank. But the government have broke rank with the social contract they have made to the people of Ireland. They have stopped engaging with us. They're not accountable to anybody. They've broke rank. They've, as far as I'm concerned, they've severed all ties in relation to the social contract that they made with the people of Ireland. And the minute they did that, then it should be a case of all other ranks are dissolved at this point in time, and the independents should realise that.
Yeah, but that's why you have so many independents in the Dáil. And the Senate, is because we are the voice of the people. We are on the ground. We are the ones that are on the ground every single day. We know what's happening. Whereas the parties, they're in a little bubble in there and they're only talking to themselves. They're not listening to the man on the ground. They're not thinking about the fella that's getting 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 jobs, childcare, cost of living, energy prices, young people emigrating, queuing for houses that can't be bought because there's maybe 3 or 4 people going to buy that house and it's gazumped straight away. So there's a lot of things happening out there that the public aren't happy about. And I believe you're right. The social contract has been broken with the people. And that is why independent voices are so important. And I know what you're saying, that these guys are now junior ministers, or they're ministers for various departments. And they're trying to sort of protect their position and But they have 5 years of government. These guys have 5 years of government. They need to effect change in that 5 years. And they only can do that by working with Fianna Fáil, by working with Fine Gael. Because if they want to get something done, whether it be in the Department of Education, I think Marion Hark is in education, or Grealish is in food innovation, and Canny's in transport or forestry, or whatever those ministries are. If they want to get it, they have to all work together collectively. So, to effect change, you have to bring people with you. And I can see where they're, but I do believe without those 5 or 6, I think it can be done. There are a couple of senators in there, there's 4 or 5 senators in there that have the opportunity to make a difference. There's a couple of TDs there still left that can make a difference. So it makes the work really a lot harder to do. But, I have faith. Honest to God, I have faith. I actually think we can do it. I actually think we can get those 10 nominees. But Independent Ireland are very crucial to that. And it's unfair that some of the heavy lifting is left to others. I think,
Do you think if they step forward that others would? I
think, it'll give courage to others. And it does. The fact that those 10 people who came the other day and say, look, there's 8 signatures and there's 2 more to come. There's 4 there from Independent Ireland. That'll bring it to 14. Then you have 6 other people there. And one by one, I think we would be able to get them. People would feel sort of, okay, I mightn't agree with Maria Steen. I might not agree. But look, let's give her the opportunity to get on the ballot paper. And let's see how she does. Look, it's a very short campaign. She'll have 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks to get herself out there. And I can guarantee you the media is not going to be her friend. So it's going to be a massive uphill battle for Maria Steen if she does, or Garrett Sheridan, or Nick Dennehy if they get on the ballot paper. The media are certainly not going to be championing the likes of Maria Steen or any of those independent candidates.
Sure. But my question would be, is because we're still at the nomination process, what can we do? What can the normal Joe do? What can the normal person do to try and influence councillors? Do we call our independent councillors? Do we call our Fianna Fáil councillors, our Oireachtas members, and try pressure them or persuade them to nominate an independent candidate? Because it has worked in the past.
Yes.
We've seen with the criminal justice bill, with the hate speech elements a couple of years ago, the people just contacting their representatives did have a big impact on that. Do you think it could work again for the presidential nomination?
I always think that when the public get behind a campaign, it can work. I mean, the most important people is not just the independent. The independent candidates know what they're doing. The independent councillors know what they're doing. The most important people to contact are Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. And Sinn Féin, because Sinn Féin could possibly make a difference as well. They don't have a candidate. If we believe in a democracy, if we believe that we're all Democrats, let the process take its course. Vote with your conscience. Do the right thing and get an independent and give people a choice to have an alternative voice on that ballot paper. So Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin councillors, to contact them throughout the country and see if that will make a difference.
And ask them not to block.
Ask them not to block. Abstain. Just abstain. Abstention is possibly the best way forward. But opposing is not going to help any independent get on the ballot paper, because we're outnumbered in every council.
That's true. Moving on, I'd like to talk about the topic of political violence in light of Charlie Kirk being assassinated last week. This is relevant to Ireland because we've had recent threats made against Simon Harris, and a woman was arrested for that. I guess my question to you two is, you are both public figures. Sharon, you are a politician as well. I'm sure that you receive your fair share of, I'd say, maybe threatening messages which are not flattering. Do you think that there's something that needs to be done? Do laws need to be changed on the books to reduce this level of behaviour directed towards politicians? Or do you think that maybe Simon Harris might be using it to offboard a little bit of light on the criticism that he had with the scoliosis scandal? What is your opinions on that?
Look, at political violence of any sort. I think what happened in America to Charlie Kirk was absolutely awful. I mean, here is a man that is going to all these college campuses all around America, having conversations, and difficult conversations with college students in an open forum. And he was shot dead in front of his wife and his children because of his views and his political views. he wasn't a politician. He was a political commentator, just like Elaine is. I found it. I actually couldn't sleep on Wednesday night when it happened, and he's been in my thoughts, and his family have been in my thoughts ever since. And it, that death has sort of had a lot of consequences. Everybody's been talking about it all around the world. People are talking about Charlie Kirk. A lot of people didn't even know who he was, and you can see all the videos are streaming online, whether it be on Twitter or on TikTok or any Instagram. They're all coming up now about some of the things that he said. And most of the times, what he spoke was the truth. He was a man of faith.
Yeah.
He was a family man. He was a husband. He was a father, and he held a political viewpoint. And for that, he got shot.
And we're getting a lot of clips of his taken out of context. In a strange way, people may be trying to justify the shooting.
Yeah.
We saw author Stephen King out of context share a quote where he said that Charlie Kirk advocated for stoning gays. When it was taken out of context where he was quoting Leviticus, basically saying that, we shouldn't stone gays. As part of a conversation about bringing LGBT people into the conservative movement, and somebody asked him a question and used Leviticus to say, Leviticus is very pro-gay, and he goes, well, no, they have this pastor that says we should stone gay men. That was taken out of context.
I know. I think Joe Brawley. Joe Brawley did it as well. He actually did it as well. I mean, people just need to know before you share something. You obviously need to do your research on it. I think it's terrible the way that the left. Yeah. And because it is the left, it is definitely not the people on the right or centre right that would actually have the views. Oh my God, he deserved it in some way. No one ever deserves anything, and Simon Harris doesn't deserve any legitimate threats on his family or on his. I mean, I had a petrol bomb thrown through my office window in 2020. Like, it shocked me completely. Like, it was a brick was thrown through with petrol on it. The office was completely destroyed, and I remember having a child in care with me at the time because I was a foster parent over the years, and that child had to leave my care because obviously they didn't know whether my home was going to be targeted next, and it was purely because I had spoken up about a drug feud that was going on in Drogheda. Wow. And what happened that day? They decided to call an election. They decided to call an election that very day. I don't think I got motivated to go, I'd say, for about a week. I just, trying to deal with something like that, and the staff as well that you have in your office, worried for them. They were worried, that something had happened again. And even they find, don't say anything, Sharon. If something happens locally again, don't say anything, Sharon. Somebody might come after you, again. So you are a little bit more reserved in what you actually say as a result. But that's what they want to do. They want to quieten you down. They want to tell you to shut your mouth, get back in the corner, and don't speak out against drug feuds, and don't speak out about the damage the drugs are doing in this country. And unfortunately, I can't stop talking about it. And my staff said, Sharon, don't. I said, look, I've done it now, so it's too late. It's over. It's too late. But I had a stalker for 2 years. I remember one day, I had 95 phone calls in one day. And the Gardaí, although they found out who it was, they couldn't do anything because the guy that owned the phone wasn't making the phone calls. I mean, ridiculous DPP rubbish. So for 2 years I went through, and this happens to anybody in public life, they will tell you that they get abuse. Whether it be online abuse, whether it be you get fellas on the street that don't like you. Not everybody likes you. That's the reality of it. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea in politics. That is the reality. But we have Simon Harris is a leader. He's a leader of a political party. I remember sitting down last week talking to a senator, and he was telling me the story. I've never read her book. I've never read the Margaret Thatcher book, but he was telling me the story about the Brighton bombing. And apparently the bomb went off, and I think Margaret Thatcher's husband, what's his name? Dennis, and the two of them were unclothed, and they had to go, and they had to go and get out of the hotel. And I believe she opened a Marks and Spencer's store down the town to actually clothe herself, to get herself ready for the next day. And she got out there and she said, she was resolute, we will never bow down to violence. She got up and she got out and she was a leader. And that's what people want. They want you to be a leader. I don't think you've heard about me talking about all those incidents that happened to me over the years. I just don't do it. It's not something that I want to be, gosh, that happened to Sharon. I'm much more than that. I'm a strong, independent female in politics. And that's what I want. And I get things done. And that's how I want to be. Not someone, oh God, that poor woman was threatened, or that poor man was threatened, or, politics it should be above that.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to just say what happened to Charlie Kirk was absolutely disgraceful, and it's after sending shockwaves across the world. And I hope that people who would predominantly have been possibly left-leaning can see the actual scope of what can happen here if the wrong message is put out about people who are standing up challenging. All we're doing is, I would consider myself a conservative centre-right politically, and I only ever challenge something when it just doesn't sit right within me. So, for example, I don't believe that a man can become a woman. I believe that you can have all sorts of emotions around all of that, and that's absolutely fine. I accept that there are people who are very confused, and I believe that, we have to be honest, and we have to be open, and we have to be able to have a conversation about it. And I think that this highlights that there's a very small minority of people who have targeted people who are standing up, speaking out, speaking their truth. We would never, ever condone any form of violence. And yet all we want to do is ask questions, bring things to the surface. He was a man who, as Sharon has said, family man, looked like a fantastic husband. He had the whole thing going, and he was inviting younger people to come and have conversations. It just highlights how intolerant
exactly
the whole movement, as in the left-leaning side. It shows how intolerant they actually are of people when they're not able to answer questions, when they're not able to engage properly with people. Then the anger and I mean, if you look at the hate speech legislation, that proposed hate speech legislation that the government tried to push through here, that was all very much geared towards people that were asking questions. They called them the far right, but let's be honest, there's very, very few people far right in this country. There is a sector, we know that. There's a sector that are racist, we know that. But the majority of people are not. The majority of people are good people, and they fall into a category of critical thinkers, and they want to ask questions, and they want to know, why are you imposing this on us? Explain why you want us to act this certain way. That legislation was never, ever, ever designed to stop hate. That legislation is purely designed to silence
censorship. Yep.
Censorship, silence voices, and make people afraid to speak online, offline, and everywhere else. I think that people are slowly realising that that's not going to work. And I know that message that was sent out, that man being publicly assassinated, I know it sends shockwaves among communities, and it obviously, resonates back home in Ireland as well. But I think we still need to keep doing what we're doing, because we're getting something right. If they're targeting people that are speaking the truth, we need to just keep stepping forward, and more people are hearing us, and more people are joining us and coming on board with us. I know that because in my community, people tell me. I watch you online, I see what you're... And it's not an online world, as Sharon has said. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok recently I'm on. There's bots on there, there's NGOs on there, there's all sorts of people on there, and I don't know the majority of them. I don't think any of us do. We only know the people in our community. And I listen to them, and I engage with them, and I speak to them, and I know what they're telling me. So, regardless as to what everybody thinks is happening out in social media land, it should be called anti-social media, by the way. But no matter what people think is going on out there, the people on the ground are actually talking about real issues in this country, such as housing, immigration, education. Sharon mentioned about the queue for housing. There could be 3 or 4 people. There's 300 or 400 people after the same house now. That's the problem. We've gone from people are queuing out the door for houses. They're that scarce. Yeah. And there's no sign of it remedying. There's nobody being accountable. I
was talking about 3 or 4 people clubbing together to buy
the
one house. And that is happening. And we all know that.
And you have your 4-person mortgages. But just on the topic of political violence, you do have this concept that comes particularly from the left that words are violence. And I think that's what drives a lot of these pushes towards stuff like hate speech legislation. We even saw Micheál Martin, the Taoiseach, mention recently that
Ireland for
terms
the
like
Irish.
Ireland for the Irish, which even like James Connolly, who is a hero of the left in Ireland, has been on record saying that. He has this article about raising the Irish flag and being proud of it, and he does say the words Ireland for the Irish within it. So Micheál Martin described that as violent speech. We do have the recent threats towards Simon Harris. I guess my question to both of you, do you think that this is the government gearing up to try a second push at bringing in hate speech legislation?
I would go, I saw this morning an article put out to say that the government are fighting against malinformation. Okay. And malinformation is not misinformation. It's actual information that they feel will harm the public if the public hear about it. So they're going a step further, and because they can't discredit people anymore who are putting out information consistently and it's never coming back as being misinformation, now they want to try and, how can we silence them a different way? Well, it's not really beneficial for the public if they find out that this actually happened, because it'll only make them upset and angry, and we don't want them upset and angry because then they mightn't vote for us the next time. So it's all about controlling language and controlling
people's lives.
Yeah.
Well, what you're permitted to hear and what you're permitted to see, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you now have government health warnings on, it's going to be raining today. It's going to be there's too much sun out today. Yeah. It is absolutely ridiculous. And you know, what life are our children going to have as they grow up in life? I fear for our children and my grandchildren, what lives they're going to have. And they say that the governments are going to have in their everyday lives, it's just mechanical robots is what they're trying to have every human being. Well, you must go this way, you must stay this way, you must stay this side of the road, don't go that side of the road. I think we're in very dangerous territory in relation to what the government's, it's a government overreach on our privacy, end of story. Yeah. And what we do, what we say, what we read, I think it's I don't think they'll chance it. I don't think they'll chance going back on the hate speech legislation. I think they got the wrath of the public the last time, and now things are a little even worse. Mm-hmm. Things are bubbling under there. They're slightly aloof in relation to how the public is feeling out there. Yeah. You know, and you know whether it was with Harvey, the scoliosis issue there with Harvey, you know, even the way the Taoiseach spoke to a woman, or not the Taoiseach, Simon Harris spoke to a woman down in Kanturk and totally dismissed her. You know, it just shows, you know, they really don't care. And I've said this all along, they actually do not care. They're there to do a job, to get from A to B, from the start of their Dáil term until the next term, and then they're up for election again.
Yeah.
Well, they still seem to be pressing ahead with some sort of censorship efforts, whether there's going to be through legislation, because they're discussing the erection of the tricolour going up on lampposts across the country, which happens to be taking place at the same time as the World Cup qualifiers, and it still gets called far right. You know, we don't know for sure, are people just putting them up to support the football team, or are they putting them up to market territory? But what I think doesn't get discussed...
just celebrate being Irish.
Celebrate being Irish. And if it is a protest, you know, why does it have to be anti-immigration? You know, it could be a protest against, I noticed myself, what I would call an overuse of foreign flags in our country, whether that be the European Union, whether that be the rainbow flag, whether that be the flag of Palestine or Ukraine. They're flown outside every pub, GA club, rugby club, put up on lamppost, and there's no real complaint about that. But the Irish flag goes up, and people maybe are going, well, I'm not seeing enough of my own flag, so maybe I'll stick this one up. So I don't know. Do you think you don't think the government are going to go back and try and institute hate speech legislation?
I don't believe it, and you know, there is a, you know, when it comes to the flag issue, I think a lot of people understand the distinction, you know, between individual immigrants who deserve respect, who have come here to this country, made this country their home, they're working hard here, and mass immigration. There's a huge difference, and the ordinary public know the difference. Don't take the public for fools. They know what's going on. They know that people are coming in here in large numbers every single day of the week. And that is the government policy at this moment in time. They let the Migration Pact sail through last year, and they did nothing to stop it. There was only a few of us in the Shannon that sort of tried to do that. So I believe that issues like the flag, issues like immigration, those need to be debated in open forum. And that's why you will have people, becoming extreme.
Yes.
That's how extremism starts. It's when you close down those conversations and you don't allow people to have their voice, and you label them. You're racist. You're a homophobe. You're a transphobe. That is how violence takes place.
Yep.
With these labels that they put on people. So with regards to the flag, I believe that there should be a strict protocol in relation to what buildings the government fly the flag on. It should be only on government buildings. It should be only the Irish flag. And when visiting countries come, we put it up on government buildings on that day, and it comes down the day after they're gone. That's it. No one else's flag should be on our government buildings, as far as I'm concerned. Let's not mix it up with every colour of the rainbow.
Well, exactly. And if you were to, up until now, if anybody had have criticised any of the flags that were placed up, the Ukrainian flags, the LGBTQ flags, all of those, it's all like they're throwing money instead of helping the the gay and lesbian community, instead of helping them and doing proactive work with that money. They just think by throwing these flags everywhere and painting the rainbow all over the place, that it's, how's that benefiting
I
that
would say
sector?
that it's not even representative of the gay community anymore.
No.
It's probably more representative, I guess, corporate multinationals.
Yeah.
Because
Kickboxing.
Yeah. They love to display. If you even look at like the Pride Parade, 90% of the floats are like Accenture, Citibank, Google. And they're covered in the rainbow flags. There seems to be very little to do with actual gay activism anymore, and more representative, I guess, globalist mega corporations.
I've gay friends who give out about the amount of this plastering. They just, again, they would say, why aren't they putting it into maybe more education, or more, why are they pushing out this? It's like they have to spend money. They've been given budgets, and you have to spend it on LGBTQ, nothing else. Sorry, that's all you can spend it on. In relation to hate speech, I do believe the government will try again, because they're being pushed by Europe. We know that they were given a deadline already. It's gone past July. But I just don't understand how they can justify it. A crime is a crime. If you break the law in this country, it's a crime.
There is legislation there already.
The legislation is there. Why are they now going after trying to push this through as some kind of a different crime? A crime is a crime, and if you hurt somebody, you injure somebody, you break the law, you stab somebody. It doesn't matter what colour or creed that person is. You do it. If you commit a crime in this country, you commit a crime in this country. None of this stuff should come into it. It's all designed to be very divisive and to cause this
silencing,
silence, and to cause this divide between us and them. We integrate. We're very happy to have any cultures come here, and as Sharon said, integrate in our communities, work in our communities, study in our communities. No problem. It's this mass, uncontrolled, unvetted, no documents coming in here. We have a problem with that because we don't know anything about these people. Because our government made sure that they didn't collect that data. They've told us that we're doing this initially, and now we're asking for stats afterwards, and they're still saying we didn't gather that data. So
I don't think they'll bring it in. I honestly don't think they'll touch it again.
Yeah,
I hope not.
There's an economic downside to it as well. All our corporates here, but they ain't going to touch it.
And the US State Department, I believe, basically threatens the Commission of Man if you censor any of our American multinational or social media companies, we will personally sanction members of Commission of Man. Yeah. So there probably will be a little bit of hesitancy on that, but you never know.
You never know. It depends how much economic suicide we want to commit.
Exactly, but they're using.
And that is the reality of it. I mean, that is the reality of it. I mean, we have to be economically clever here.
Yeah.
It's not about are we going to legislate for hurty words and and
the fines that the European Union might give us.
Yeah.
They are. they probably don't outweigh the money that we make off these social media companies. So maybe they might factor that into the conversation. Well, I think we'll leave that topic there. Thank you for joining me, Elaine Mullally and Senator Sharon Keogan.
Thank you for having me.
This has been Ireland Reports, and thank you for watching.